All right, we have Mary Lou Burton with the Oregon Cannabis Growers and Consumers Fair with us on the phone. Welcome to the show, Mary Lou.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. It's a second year for this fair,
Yes,
and it's done
yes.
in conjunction with the Oregon State Fair, which is a big deal. And I know you actually have an area last year that you displayed plants for adults at the fair, which is a first time in the country, I think, for anything like that to have a state adopt that and allow that to happen at their state fair. It was a really big
First
deal.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So tell us a little bit more about how that works and what you guys do.
well, the Growers Fair we do prior to the State Fair, and the Growers Fair is down at the Oregon State Fairgrounds. And last year it was quite a feat, but we wanted to basically kind of acknowledge the incredible growers in this industry, the ones that really are the heart and soul of the industry. So we were able to work with OLCC and get a permit to bring the plants to the fairgrounds. So, and then the winning plants and the growers were able to display their plants at the Oregon State Fair. So the
That's just
exciting
amazing.
thing, pardon?
That's just amazing that how that meant.
Yeah, the exciting thing is that it's never happened, like you said, and we were amazed, and the publicity was incredible. I mean, local, national, and international. I mean, we had the BBC covering it because it never happened before. And one of my favorite articles from The Guardian basically said that if a state fair can recognize this as agriculture, why can't the DEA or the feds?
Yeah,
So
right.
it really, really put Oregon on the map as one of the model cannabis states, which, you know, there are so many benefits to that, increasing tourism, but having an environment where the industry can network and then also invite consumers into a very safe environment to learn more about this amazing plant and the benefits.
Right, right. And I know there
So,
was legislature passed this year that allows not just live plants, I think, but even like samples from dispensaries to not necessarily be dispensed, but be taken to events like this and
yes,
displayed,
finally, Keith.
and so people be able to see what an actual marijuana bud looks like if they've never been to a dispensary, and they won't have to actually go to a dispensary. They'll be able to see it displayed and
Right.
smell it and stuff,
And
which is really
it's
cool.
a beautiful plant, and the thing we want to educate people on, there's a lot of consumers that really don't want to inhale or smoke. So we've got edibles and topicals, and super exciting, a transdermal patch, which for
Nice.
elderly, literally you put this patch on, kind of like a Nicoderm patch, and the cannabis actually goes right to the bone. And the success of that has been amazing. But the Growers Fair, which is August 12th and 13th at the State Fairgrounds, we basically will have the growers, about 60 growers, bring in plants. And then we will have judges judge on indica, sativa, CBD. We added CBD this year, and sativa. So there's 4 different categories. Our judges are Mark Herrera, which is Jack Herrera's son, Antonio Harvey, Farmer Tom, which is a local celebrity.
Farmer Tom
And,
Lowerman, right?
pardon?
Tom Lowerman, I believe it is.
Yes,
Right.
yes, we
Yep.
call him Farmer Tom. He's amazing. And the plants will be judged. Last year, it was awesome. One grower got up, got his award, and literally had tears in his eyes, saying this was like the Academy Awards of marijuana. So,
Right. Nice. That's really cool. I know. And
yeah, and then a crazy thing is that Fairgrounds is allowing retail and dispensaries to actually take orders at the fair. So that's a huge step in the right direction. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, I don't appreciate people using and calling their drug that it has medical benefits. And he goes, I like my whiskey. And I said, well, your drug killed 80,000 people last year, and there are huge benefits to cannabis for people with cancer. My 83-year-old neighbor, we brought her a transdermal patch with her children's permission, and she called me up the next day and said for the first time she was able to walk without pain. And then she jokingly said, all my friends are in pain. We all have money. Nobody markets to us. Come pick us up in a bus, take us to the pot store, then the casino.
Right.
It's quite amazing. We have a doctor from Alaska who has researched and works with geriatric patients. And he basically said that he is transferring all of his medical advice, and including cannabis, because he feels that with the amount of opiates and drugs that they prescribe for geriatrics and anybody in severe pain, that if you prescribe too many opiates, it's actually masking the true symptoms. So he said that some of that pain is important to find out where it's coming from. So me, never being a consumer over the years, Catholic, family of 8, 4 kids, I always thought that this was a terrible thing. And really, basically, that came from propaganda. And so I have, spent my time educating myself and have been amazed at, the real purpose of this plant, and that, it's just benefits. I mean, just one of the gals that works with me had cancer, and 27 years old, just terrible. And she didn't want to take the 17 prescriptions that the doctor gave her. So she literally did some pot brownies and was in chemo, and all the nurses were like, "You're so happy." And it allowed her to be able to eat and things like that. So
right.
This fair is about
Educating
bringing
people.
Together,
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, it's all about educating people. I mean,
It is.
you bring forth your
just
story.
In my immediate area, I have friends and family coming to me and asking, but nobody knows where to go get the information about it.
Right.
This fair is designed not only for people to meet these amazing bud tenders. I find that people still are afraid to walk into a retail store or dispensary because they don't understand it. And if they actually walked into a store, they would be amazed at the the bud tenders are so knowledgeable. I have problems with sleep. What would work best for me? So we're bringing it out in the public so that people can come to this, state fairgrounds, safe environment. The new thing we added this year, Keith, is a Can I Help You desk. We've got medical professionals, including pharmacists, doctors, nurses, that will literally be there to help consult and educate and let people know of the benefits.
Right.
Then we advise that they do consult with their doctors. One friend of mine was having surgery, and she did not want to have opiates in the house because her son was an addict. So she went to her surgeon, asked him, and he literally said, "Here's the retail store I go to, and this is what I use." So people need to know that they have to ask their doctor. The doctors, because it's still not legal on a federal level, cannot prescribe it or recommend it. But if a patient asks, they can absolutely, give them direction or, their input on it. Now, some medical professionals still, aren't on board. So we're actually reaching out and inviting doctors, retirement homes, anybody in the industry that just wants to know more. But to be able to see these plants live, to meet people in the industry, which, you've been in a long time, Keith, and I'm amazed at the amazing people in this industry.
It's a tight group because, as you mentioned, I mean, one of the problems is doctors, the vast majority of doctors medical doctors especially do not recommend cannabis. I mean, at least they definitely don't write a recommendation. There's very few that are willing
And
to cross that line.
one of the
So,
problems with that, Keith, is I believe the big pharma. They're just cramming these drugs down doctors' throats, and that it's sad. And oh my gosh, the thing I saw the other night on CNN was basically since cannabis was legalized in 2012 in Colorado, then Washington, and then Oregon, they have done studies where opiate deaths are down 25% in states that's legalized. That's phenomenal. That is, I think that, the
yeah,
more research we can do,
yeah,
that, it will start becoming, really a phenomenon. And, in addition to the medical end of it, the revenue that has been created, I think close to 60 million in tax dollars, probably more now, that money is slated to go back to education and mental health. And this wonderful plant can really help our economy as well as tourism. And a lot of the legislature really want Oregon to be the model and the clean cannabis state.
yeah. Well,
So it has
clean.
been, just an incredible, I call it kind of like, I've been in the industry 3 years, and I feel that I've learned so much and have really changed my opinion of the industry. And this event really is a celebration of all the people and the hard work,
Right.
people
Yeah.
that had to transfer from medical to recreation, to become, a legal part of the industry. It's been a real long process, and people think it's the green rush, but I find that the challenges are really difficult, and that I've had several friends and family come to me and asking where to invest or if they want to be a grower, and I said, well, if you don't know anything about the industry, it is very difficult. And one of my investors, I said, listen, if you want to invest in the industry, let me connect you with somebody who is an expert at this and will be able to take your money, and then you can watch it grow. So at the show, we're doing investor speed dating. So we invite investors to come down and meet with the people in the industry and see, where they want to go with it.
Right.
And yeah,
That's a great idea. I mean, it sort of goes along lines with the collaborative conference that you had done earlier in the year that had a similar kind of investor pitch deck, and
we did.
you also did a speed dating thing there, didn't you?
It was incredible. We had about 47 companies do their pitch. We had an app created, and investors were able to go on and actually make appointments with people, because there is no network of being able to find out about this. And in my 3 years in the industry, I've been able to meet so many people, vet ideas, and just basically connect people. I'm the cannabis connector, people are jokingly calling me.
Oh, that's a good moniker to have, though.
Yes,
Well,
I
so
feel,
tell us a
yeah, I
little bit
want
more about the
to, sorry, go ahead.
process of what happens during the growers fair as far as the plant judging, and some of the things that they look at with the plants, and then which plants get actually displayed at the fair.
Yeah, so the plants are judged on many different factors. I don't have a ton of the details, but looking at not that I was amazed some of the plants were huge, but it's not about how big they are. It's about the health of it, um, look of the leaf, the
How
just
vigorous their
tons
growth
of,
is and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah, right.
And so then basically in each category there's a first, second, and a third, and then the 9 winning plants that actually get the awards are invited to go to the state fair. And then they're on display for 12 days in a greenhouse where people have to 21 and above to actually go in and view them. So it's incredible. The writer for the Associated Press actually came down and hung out the entire 2 days, did a really incredible story, featuring some of the really amazing people in the industry. And he then went out and actually harvested with one of my growers.
Nice.
So it's, getting the word out mainstream and kind of getting rid of that stigma of it's a bad thing.
Right.
It's there's been situations where I had a personal experience where someone in my family was injured very bad. He was young, and they basically saw the mental health issues that have plagued him over the years. And one doctor basically said, he came out and privately said, we recommend you look at a medical cannabis card because the amount of opiates that we would have to prescribe would actually turn, he could turn to heroin. So,
right.
These are things that we need to be educated about.
Yeah. No, it's a remarkable substitute for opiates. I mean, it's and to be quite honest, that is one of the most common treatment for opioid addiction is to substitute a number of a couple or three different drugs, including methadone and a couple of others that are not any better. Methadone is very addictive, and we know that cannabis. I mean, from federally done studies by the National Institutes of Health that is trying to show that cannabis is not good for you. They still come up with worst case scenario, a 9% addiction, quote unquote addiction rate, and it still isn't a physical addiction or anything like that, even close to what you get from heroin or alcohol.
And my personal experience, I was hooked on Ambien, and I don't know if you know about Ambien, but
no, I know it's not good.
Terrible thing.
Yeah, right.
I went through a very stressful time in my life, became addicted to it. Then when I tried to get off of it, I was just prescribed, a litany of the other drugs.
Right.
And basically what I discovered is it will knock you out, but you never get full REM sleep. And with me being ADD and, very creative, I can't shut my brain down. So somebody recommended to me like a vape pen that looks like an e-cigarette with the CBD. I basically have 2 puffs at night if I can't sleep, if I'm having a hard time winding down. And I am so relaxed, and it has been a blessing for me because I get the best sleep I've ever gotten in my life. It really has changed my life.
Yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who's using sleep narcotics to try cannabis instead in a minute. I mean, they just be, especially with the new vape pens and stuff. Wow, a couple of puffs on a vape pen, and most people who need Ambien, quicker acting in 10 or 15 minutes, they're going to be ready to sleep.
I mean, I had really bad back pain and put on a transdermal patch, and I thought, how is this going to work? It looks like kind of a Nicoderm patch. And the next morning, it had gone all the way to my bone and the deep muscles, and I felt relief within 24 hours. And it's like, it's game-changing. And again, it's the finding out more, doing your research. At the Cannabis Collaborative Conference, we literally had doctors and scientists from OHSU, Harvard, and Brown that are starting to do studies. And I actually talked to a psychiatrist who has been studying younger children or, teenagers that have, kind of gone off the deep end. It's like we don't know why this is happening. And what I've discovered is they're prescribed meds. They're not being monitored. And this psychiatrist studied about 300 kids and discovered that the common denominator was they were either on the wrong med, not being monitored, or have gone off the med. And so I find that, for mental health, not saying it's a solution and not saying that children should be using it. Teenagers are too slow already. We don't need to slow them down anymore. But, with ADD and depression and other things, I had a friend who has MS, and I sent her an article. And when people are in pain and have no other solutions, it really opens their eyes to look at, any benefit, anything that they can do, that the narcotics are not helping. So,
right. So,
and I know we're going deep into the medical part of it, but
that's a big part
fair,
of what you're trying to do is let people know that there's a real medical value to this and not be afraid of it. So
the thing I love most is people give back. They open up their doors to veterans or compassionate care. One veteran down at the fair last year told me a story that just went deep to my heart. He said he came back. The VA had not offered him the help he needed. The VA is a great program, but, we need more help there. He said that he basically contemplated suicide, and a friend basically introduced him to growing cannabis, and he said that the plant actually kept him alive because he wanted to keep the plant alive. So these stories, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. And the possible outcome from the plant at the end that you've grown to help you with the problems that you have and the maladies that you're suffering from. It just makes total sense. Yeah, I mean, that's most of the people who garden,
even the people who are adverse to it. We don't want to convince anybody to use it, but they need to become educated as to why it became illegal, and that fascinates me. That basically in George Washington days, I read that if you weren't growing a hemp crop, you actually were fined or put in jail. So,
right.
Why
That's true. Actually,
was because of big business.
It was the state of Virginia that did that. Now that you said that, it's just rattling through my mind. It's funny, but they did because they needed hemp for industrial reasons, really.
Oh my God! So, and hemp is another version of cannabis, a different plant, and there is a lot of controversy over it. But basically, CBD is a way of having the benefits, the pain relief, without the high or the hallucinogenic. I don't know how that is said.
Right. Well, the CBD does seem to have properties that seem to be. It's still kind of unknown as to how this is working, and they haven't studied it well enough. But that's again part of the problem. I mean, is they haven't made huge, massive double-blind studies that the way the FDA wants to see, and most scientists want to see. That's the way medical science sort of works.
And with the hemp, the building materials, it creates the strongest rope. I have a guy in Eugene that created a deck stain that will last 20 years out of hemp.
Yeah, that's Dave Sieber with Hemp Shield. Yeah.
There was a car created by Ford that somebody took a sledgehammer to. It's like a 20-second video online, and the car did not dent.
Right. That was Henry Ford. That was Henry Ford swinging that sledgehammer.
Yes.
Yes.
But what happened is, big business, DuPont, it was their biggest competitor.
Yeah,
to cotton,
no doubt.
And so somehow big business made it illegal.
Oh, do you think you guys might get hemp plants specifically
We're doing CBD. We've added that this year, and we will have experts there with hemp. And there's people are requesting, big stores that want to start carrying hemp products.
Right. No, I know. I have some people who do. Ben Christensen from Oregon Hemp Works, friend of mine, online at least. We've interacted for years. He has a industrial hemp store that doesn't even deal with CBD. He's just all about the oil, the seed, and
Yes.
the fiber. Which, as much as I like CBD, I hope that part of the hemp industry doesn't get forgotten because the CBD value is so
No, I think
huge.
it's building. Jerry Norton down in Southern Oregon
Yeah.
is literally has about 500 acres growing, and all of it is sold. So there aren't a lot of hemp growers, but it is increasing.
Oh yeah, what they do grow gets gobbled up because there's definitely a
Oh, it does.
market for regular old industrial hemp. But
Yes.
I mean, I just the farmers have to be willing to grow it and go away from the valuable CBD crop. I do have a lot of concern actually around that at this point.
There
I'm
is
concerned that
with the
the actual
growers.
industrial hemp industry is suffering because everybody's growing the CBD. And as much as I like the CBD, I think it's got a lot of potential. It's really unproven in some ways. I mean, we need to study it more. So I think they're putting the cart ahead of the horse in some ways there. And I think that
Yes,
the industrial hemp market is there for fiber and
absolutely.
seed, and I know that there's a market for CBD, but they can't even legally send it over state lines right now. The FDA is arguing
Right.
with them. And there's all of these problems that people are ignoring because of greedy rush mentality in some
It is
cases. It's
very
kind of
sad for
sad.
me
Yeah.
because in my 3 years, I've seen really hardworking people, mainstream people that have gone into the industry, and because of all the rules and regs and things changing daily, it's
Oh,
put
yeah.
people out of business.
Oh, yeah.
So
There's plenty of
you've
people that,
seen people put their life savings and time into this industry. And the sad part about that is when there was testing issues this year, when the people did what they were supposed to do to turn over to rec, basically the testing was so stringent that they did everything the way they were told to, and then crops didn't pass, and basically people lost their life savings. So that's one thing that we need to educate people, that it is not an easy industry, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's not smart to jump into it.
no, very much so. Very much so. I know
Yeah.
that there was a whole snafu with pesticides and the contaminated concentrates this year that really became an issue. And I still chalk a lot of it up to people not knowing how to apply legal pesticides. I mean, a lot of
Right,
these
and the
crops are
people that are
failing
in
for
it right
legal.
now, I call it they're blazing the trails.
Yeah,
I
it
have an
is.
investor right now who would like to buy a retail store, and he basically owns hotels and restaurant chains, and he basically approached me, and so I'm helping him find it. He then would like to take and perfect it and then franchise to make everything more consistent. Um, and it helps out some of the smaller people that they've put in a couple years, and they didn't realize how difficult it was. So they want to sell out. Now, some want
Sure.
to stay. What I love is they want to continue to do craft people, that the smaller guy can still be very successful. And I compare that to our wine and beer industry, that there is a huge need for that. But also, I feel that a lot of our experts who have done the time, gone to jail, have navigated through this, will be the experts and the consultants. So we're going to start
I hope
doing
so.
grow tours.
I hope so. That needs to happen more. A lot of
That is
yeah.
really, Keith, there's a lot of shows out there, but for some reason I have become very passionate and care about this industry so much that this event we produce is really a nonprofit, and it's the industry pulling it together, and wanting to market and educate to the industry. And you said something funny earlier, that people can actually display their product. Well, last year at the Cannabis Collaborative Conference, we had the media there, and they were jokingly saying that this is the only industry trade show that can't have their product at it. and they were kind of laughing about it.
Right, right. Well,
So,
that's
but
changed in
we've
Oregon
made
now.
great strides.
Yeah, totally. So we're running short on time. So let's give people the
Yes.
specifics on where they can get information and the dates again when you'll have the actual
Yes.
judging and then when you're going to be at the fair.
So the Growers Fair, Oregon Cannabis Growers and Consumer Fair, is at the State Fairgrounds on August 12th and 13th. You can buy tickets. They're very inexpensive, $20 online at cangrowfair.com. On that website, you can learn more about the judging. We're still accepting plant applications from growers. We only have a few positions left. We do have a couple of exhibit booths left if anybody's interested in being part of it. Like I said, retail stores can actually take orders, but then they have to be delivered or the buyer needs to go to the store to pick it up.
Right, okay.
So the Growers Fair, again, August 12th and 13th, we will have the Can I Help You desk with medical professionals that people can talk to, become educated. And then the State Fair is August 25th through September 5th. And that is where the winning plants will be on display. And it will be more of an education. There won't be all the facets of the industry.
Right.
The one last thing, too, is there are a lot of growers that can grow at home. And we invite them to come down and learn from the growers the secrets. And the growers are absolutely willing to help and let them know what soil, what nutrients,
right. Well,
how to keep pests out.
Let me run this by you because I know people who have quit the growing in any professional manner, but they still grow at home and grow really good cannabis. They could enter their plants feasibly, right?
Exactly.
So there's no limit to just being a licensed grower to be able to enter your plant in this competition and stuff. So
and you will meet people down here that you can actually go into retail stores now and buy the plants. You can buy ones in all different sizes. If you're getting started, you may want to buy a larger one that's already strong and ready,
right.
at a point where it's not going to be as hard. But also, I think a lot of home growers are discovering that they can actually buy a better quality product in the retail stores and much less expensive. But there are a lot of home growers that we had one that submitted a plant last year, and he actually won a second place.
There you go.
So,
right.
Yeah, we
Okay.
don't want to limit it to just the industry. We want, everybody to be there and really to have this be a celebration for the industry because of how far we've come since it was legalized 2
right.
years ago.
No, I agree. I think it's great. I'm really excited to have this happening again. And having it happen in conjunction with the fair and being able to display the plants at the fair. It's just awesome.
Thank you for what you do, Keith. Your newspaper and radio podcast is really valuable, and you've been in this a long time, and your help in promoting something like this that is so critical to the industry, we really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the kudos. I won't turn it down. Been doing my part for quite a few years, and I'm really excited to see some of the changes in the public's attitude towards cannabis. So, and I think this goes a long way to doing that. So, thanks for being on our show and letting everybody know, Mary, about your event. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Keith.